all of you to this workshop tonight, which is on the theme of Let's Plan 2025. But first of all, before we get into it, I'm going to ask Deborah to read a prayer that was selected by Catherine Fish, but Catherine is stuck in traffic getting home in the snow of Sheffield. So Deborah's going to read it for us. Thank you, Deborah.
The work of Christmas begins. When the carols have been stilled, when the star-topped tree is taken down, when family and friends are gone home, when we are back to our schedules, the work of Christmas begins. To welcome the refugee, to heal a broken planet, to feed the hungry, to build bridges of trust, not walls of fear, to share our gifts, to seek justice and peace for all people, to bring Christ's light to the world. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Deborah.
And I've just put that in the chat if anyone wants to.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. So we're going to give you a little window into what Green Christian is planning to do over the next few months. So we're going to have 4 speakers on climate anxiety. It's going to be Paul and Deborah. Climate nature and keeping fossil fuels in the ground is from Ruth. Kat's going to tell us what the food aspects of our campaigning work is up to, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of how we're hoping to engage churches more. So we start with Paul and Deborah on the Borrowed Time programme with climate anxiety and climate fire and deep waters. Paul, off you go.
Right, thank you. So some of you may know already about Borrowed Time or Deep Waters or Cloud and Fire, but I just want to step back a bit and explore why we do it and why it matters, because I'm sure there are some people, I know there are some people who have lifelong sort of dyed in the wool and very respected and capable activists who think, well, maybe it's all a bit self-indulgent to think, to do this navel gazing about how we feel about the climate. Let me just show you this is some work that's been done by a colleague, actually, a friend, in fact, a member of the sort of advisory group of Borrowed Time, Panu Pikala, who's a Finnish psychotherapist and a theologian, Lutheran pastor, actually. And in his academic work, he's identified all of this whole sort of gamut of emotional responses that people have. Yes, to climate change, I've no doubt, to biodiversity loss as well, that was all in there. Any environmental aspects of the environmental crisis. Why is it important to know how we're responding and to be fully in possession of our responses? It's because it's from who we are and how we feel that we actually do respond. And if we are reconciled, for instance, to our outrage, to our sense of betrayal, to our loneliness, to our sense of powerlessness, whatever it is, then we're actually going to be more capable in our responses, more effective in them, and we're going to look after ourselves better. We're not going to get burnt out so readily, and we're going to look after each other, because it's particularly important now, I think, that we begin to look after each other. So we are now in the place where we cannot ignore the way we feel, and in fact we have to acknowledge it. Sadly, there's no word that I found that's any better than, well, there is one word, distress. That's slightly better than anxiety, because distress is more encompassing, more expansive. But that's where we are. So I'm going to use anxiety as a sort of code for so many different things, all of these feelings. Now, But this is a very real thing for not just for adults, but of course for young people as well. This is just a graph from some work that's done by Caroline Hickman, who's an eminent climate psychologist in this country. 10,000 people, her and her colleagues surveyed worldwide, and you can see, for instance, in the UK, 51% of young people think that humanity is doomed due to climate change. Now, and it gets worse, particularly in developing countries. We work only with adults. We've decided that we have the capacity only to work with adults. We look to work with young people as well. And there are two programs that we're particularly offering. Well, three, in fact, now, because we now offer a Lent course as well. So now is the time to begin to be planning a Lent course. Cloud and Fire is an opportunity for people who stop share, who are in some kind of ministry. So the role that Cloud and Fire plays is to help people explore through a sort of process of a retreat in daily life, over 8 sessions over about 4 months, starting in fact on the 13th of February, to explore how to adapt and develop their ministry for the community that they support, their worshipping community, so that they become more capable to not only for themselves as individuals, as ministers, but also for their congregation, and for the congregation to then serve the communities in which they live, which may of course be prone to flooding, and of course people will have their own feelings anyway in the wider community. So it's about building the capacity of the church and the mission of the church effectively in an age of climate breakdown. So that starts Thursday evenings on the 13th of February. Is my time up?
Your time's up, Paul. Thank you. So book your place quickly if you want to go on that course with Paul, and you'll have time to ask him about it. Deborah.
Yes, I would recommend, if you're in that kind of ministry that you do. Deep Waters is a bit different. It's for congregations and groups, Christian groups. But having said that, anybody is welcome, anybody at all, as we always say in Green Christian, as long as they understand that Deep Waters has a Christian basis and they're not offended by it. We don't want lots of arguments about it should be Buddhist or something. This is who we are. Again, like Cloud and Fire, it takes place over 8 sessions. We recommend weekly, in fact, not spread over several months, but weekly. The topics are, as I'm going to quickly show you in this slide, share. There we go. It's designed for groups, either online or in person. It's not designed for individuals. You can have the resources, but you won't get nearly so much out of it. You'll probably only get about 1/10 out of it if you do it on your own. It really is designed for groups. 8 weekly sessions is ideal. So there's an introduction to Deep Waters and the whole concept of love, the stages or phases of climate grief, helping each other tell the truth, the huge thing, creating language and practice for lament, mortality and extinction, wisdom and love again, the place of blame, forgiveness and justice, and redefining hope. What does hope mean? What does hope mean today for Christians and for many people? We feel in Borrowed Time that it's entirely normal and natural to have a very complex and emotional response to the twin crises of climate change and nature, ecology, and biodiversity distress. The whole planet is in distress. We believe that there are more than 5 stages of grief. There are more than 7 stages of grief. There are many models of grief, but we explore this in a very safe way. The whole thing, Deep Waters, is extremely safe. Nobody is ever put on the spot. What happens is that you receive a PDF with materials that you can think about and read over the week, over a few days before, in fact. And then in the actual sessions, we divide into small groups, which are the same each time. So you get to know each other really, really well. And many groups have kept in touch with each other. If people feel it's not for them, it's fine. They can just drop out, and we're not going to put pressure on people to continue. We've had 9 full courses, and only a handful in that whole time have dropped out. People's responses generally are overwhelmingly that deep waters is extremely helpful in navigating climate and ecological distress, together with like-minded people. And for many people, particularly in rural churches, where the population is not so great, they feel very, very alone. So this is a really important thing. In the weekly texts that you're sent, we have lots of different resources, such as an introductory text with a small essay, if you like, to lay out the whole issue, say of grief or of hope, some passages of scripture, some images, some poems, links, videos, and music. And the idea is not that you have to plow through all of this like an exam to master it, but the different resources speak to different people. And what speaks to one person, like, you know, facts, will leave another person cold, and they'll be more interested in, say, poetry or images. And then towards the end of the session, we have about 20 minutes where we share our discoveries in a very safe way. Again, no names, no patrial, that kind of thing. And then we end with a shared reflection and a prayer. It is immensely safe. It is immensely encouraging. And it's not saying that everything is going to be rosy, because we all know that it won't be. But it's finding a community, and it's finding mutual support. So I hope that's of interest. The next round of Deep Waters will begin in September.
Thank you, Deborah, very much indeed. Next up on the list here is Ruth, who's going to be talking about what we're doing with climate and nature, and with just keeping those fossil fuels in the ground. So Ruth, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deborah. So we know the state of creation is dire. We know we're Christians, and we live in a democracy. So what do we do? How do we respond with Christian values of love and justice to this situation? There's so much hate and false facts out there. I think it's a bit incumbent really on us Christians to try and spread justice, the truth, justice, love into this democratic process. And there's 2 ways to do that we have jumped on. We're a very small organisation, Green Christian, and so there's no point in us having a big campaign for, you know, a few hundred people to do. Far better to join in with what's happening anyway. And one of my jobs really is to look through the hundreds of campaigns out there and just decide which ones align with our values. And there's 2 at the moment that we're really wholeheartedly supporting, and I'm sure you know them, but I'll just go through them quickly. Firstly is the 0 Hour Campaign for a Climate and Nature Bill. And the second one is the Uplift. You might not have heard of them, but it's the campaign to stop new oil and gas in the North Sea. And both of these are using and allowing us to participate legitimately in the democratic process. So firstly, the CAN bill. I don't know if you've seen our website. Let's just go. So if you want to find it, the most important things I always put on we always try and remember to put on the homepage. So we go to the homepage, and you've got some boxes at the bottom here. So the Climate and Nature Bill, you click on that, and it talks a bit about what we're doing. We've got a video about it here, and the main thing is to get your MP to turn up and vote and support this bill on the 24th of January. Should we have a hands up? How many people have got their MPs going to support this? Yay, to support this. Minus 2 on the 24th of January. So whether or not they've agreed, or whether or not you have already written, can I encourage you to continue to ask them again, to whether they can really commit, whether they're definitely going to be there, or to ask them say, even if they've said no, they're not going to be there, write to them again. And the wonderful thing about the Climate and Nature Bill website is it's always bang up to date, absolutely bang up to date. Something changes overnight and they have this new whole super duper thing in the morning. And if you put your postcode in, there will be a letter written to your MP, specifically written for your MP. So if they're a Reform MP, they will not be invited to come on the 24th of January, for example. And if they have already committed to go, it'll be a reminder, look, please, don't let anything get in the way. This is so important. So it's really, really good website to use, and I do recommend it. So if you do one thing after this evening, it is to write to your MP again, go to that website, but also to encourage people you know in your church to do it. Because that's what's really going to make the difference, isn't it? For them to get emails, not from the eco nutters that we are, but from the other people they don't normally hear from. So that's the CAN bill, and then the next. Let's go to home again, and then the second campaign we're really supporting. This is quite a new campaign. The government is asking us, it has a consultation out there asking us what we think about whether they should continue drilling for oil, or whether they have paused oil drilling, is whether they should continue that pause or whether they should start digging. And of course, you can be sure that the fossil fuel companies and the Net Zero Watch are participating in this consultation. So we need to make sure that the voice of justice and love and science and common sense needs to be heard as well. And so there's 3 things to do. There's a petition to sign. There is a Zoom to come to. Stop Press, we've only just organised it, and I haven't got a nice funky graphic, but I've got the registration. The registration is up there, and it's a Zoom on the 6th of February with the uplist, the people who really know about this campaign, to come and talk about how we can help. And the third one is to simply get your diaries and write Ash Wednesday service and vigil on Ash Wednesday. Something's happening that day, and we'd love to invite you to be part of it.
Thank you, Ruth. You're all keeping beautifully to time. Kat is going to now tell us, if her internet connection works, about what the food group are up to. Kat.
I will. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Give me a
all good so far.
Good. So thanks so much for that. I apologise if I look as though I'm in my jammies. I actually am, but there we go. So I am the project officer for the food project, which is now a year old, and we've spent the last year doing things like building alliances with other organisations. I'm just starting my stopwatch, Barbara, so that I don't run over. Building alliances with allied organisations, raising awareness within the membership, running some workshops, and building up some research that will help us in how we go forward. It's a 3-year project at the moment, and so we have built some sound foundations, we hope, and we are looking forward to building on that into real change and action in the coming years. So why food? Partly because everybody likes food, and we have had the LOAF initiative, local, organic, animal friendly and fair trade, for I think 2 decades now, and it's served us really, really well. But things have changed since it came into being, and there are novel things for us to consider. Plus, the food project also considers practices such as, do we say grace? How do we show our gratitude? Do we think about those things? How we share with others? Do we fast? Are there aspects of self-discipline that can be helpful from a fasting? And so the food project itself is definitely LOAF, but it's somewhat wider than that. So we're going to be launching a new food-related e-newsletter, which won't be like Ruth's amazing fortnightly-ish e-news. It'll be less frequent than that, but it'll be when we've got some things to tell you about. And if you'd like to sign up to a food-related e-newsletter, you can do that by emailing info@greenchristian.org.uk, Ruth's regular email address. Thank you for your help with building that database, Ruth. We're also planning a series of events. We're planning out into 2026 at the moment, but kicking off with maybe it's new for Green. Actually, it's not that different from what we're doing this evening. If anybody has come across open space technology, open space online meetings, please drop me an email, because it'll be great to know who's already familiar with this. So we're planning some community conversations, as we are describing them, on Zoom in the next few weeks, and we'll be emailing various people about that to trial how we do it and make sure we can do it effectively. And then to have a wider version of that for the membership. And the nature of one of those conversations is that anyone who wants to can bring a pitch of what they'd like to talk about. So it might be, how do we make loaf affordable? It might be, what do we think of lab-grown meat? And then people will vote on whether they want to discuss that. We're also revitalising our LOAF campaign with a new LOAF leaflet. And that is something that'll be sitting within the food group. We're really looking forward to getting a new version out there that considers some of these options, also whether all of the organisations that we've worked with in the past, RSPCA and so forth, whether they're still consistent with our values at the moment. So there's lots happening at the moment, and we'd love to have more people involved, asking to help do things. We think there's lots of legs in this much neglected area of biblical attitudes to food in all its manifestations. That's me.
Thank you very much indeed, Kat. Okay, now the fourth aspect we're looking at is engaging your church. And we have a church's project group, and we're looking for things to be, so we'll be walking the talk and being a beacon. So ideas for Green Christian members to engage their own church in action, in addition to the sort of practical things that Eco Church do. So for Lent, two things have already been mentioned, but I'm going to highlight them again. We have a really good Lent course called the Wounded Earth, which you can find on the website. There'll be a link to it coming to you. If you could get a group at your church to follow that course, it will be wonderful. And Ash Wednesday, there is indeed a prayer vigil in London. Why not come yourself and also invite some friends? Or if you're too far away, send the message on to any friends you might have in the London area to come and join us on Ash Wednesday. We had lots and lots of suggestions and ideas from our Sheffield meeting a little while ago, and for our annual members meeting last autumn. And we're looking at those and looking to prioritise a variety of suggestions that we can send out to you to get you thinking what you might do, something that would suit your church. Because all church congregations are different. It's not one size fits all. Now, we've had some suggestions already on how to get started in your local church, how to help your church sow prophetic leadership, and how to engage your own congregation. And I've just picked out three ideas that just struck me. One was at one church where they rang the church bells on the day in the year when the earth's resources have run out. Another church where they showed a challenging film and invited the PCC, the Church Council, along and others to come to it, with the added incentive of drinks and nibbles, and then a chat afterwards. And then my third suggestion is Ruth. I'm pretty sure you did this in your own church, Ruth, but I just laughed out loud at this one. Involve people in deciding on recycled loo paper. They trialled 5 different recycled loo paper and asked people to fill in a form, rating them. As Ruth said, it's a bit silly, but it was a way to get people thinking about how everyday choices can harm creation, or not so much. So, as with the food group, if you're interested in this sort of aspect of our work and would like to join the church group, please just get in touch with us, and would love to have a few more people in our group. Right, well, we've touched on a number of the things that Green Christian is going to be doing 2025. I've just got a couple of others just pushing here at the last few moments. We're redesigning our website, so there will be a new look to our website, which we shall be launching in some time in the next few weeks. We now have 9 official Green Christian local groups spread around the country, and 5 groups who are more loosely connected of members of Green Christian who happen to get together. If you're interested in joining a local group, you can look on our website to find the map where they are. If you'd like to set up a group yourself in your area, Isabel Murdoch will be happy to help you. And our Way of Life companions and explorers, we have our annual meeting in London on Saturday the 8th of February. And this is an open meeting. Anybody can come. Any Green Christian member is very welcome to come to it in London at St. Lucius. And we have an amazing programme of workshops and talks in the next few weeks. Some our own Green Christian workshops like this, some join in our talks, but several workshops we're joining together, like with the Uplift one on the stopping new fossil fuels. That, by the way, to remind you, is on the 6th, am I right? Where are we? The 6th of February, the Uplift joint workshop. Look on our website, you'll see where you can register, together with the Operation NOAA, Christian Climate Action, and Uplift and us. And that will be really good to go to. And our next Green Christian workshop will be on the 12th of February, another Wednesday, not the first, second Wednesday in the month, where we've got Barbara Keel coming to talk about the Coat of Hopes. Do you remember the Glasgow COP and the Coat of Hopes that went round the country? Well, Barbara Keel was integral to that, and she's come to talk us and tell us some tales about how the Coat of Hopes walked its way around the country and has continued to do so since then as well. It hasn't stopped. So I think we're going to draw this to a close, and I'm going to ask Paul to read the final prayer for us, please. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Let's just take a moment while we absorb what we've heard and talked about, and I look for the prayer. It's a prayer and a blessing, in fact. May our loving God, who created the world and all that is in it, inspire us to delight in our beautiful home and to live in wonder, peace, and joy. May our living God keep our hearts turned to loving our neighbour and to respecting the creation we share. May our merciful God help us to live this week in goodness and hope, and fill us with God's peace. Amen.
Thank you, Paul, and good night, everyone.